Hello, welcome to Citizens Forum. This is Tuesday, December the 8th, 2015. The first part of Citizens Forum is always the Walter and Jack show, so we'll start off. We're going to talk a little bit about sewage treatment, but there's also a lot of other issues we're going to cover. I think I'm getting to the point with sewage treatment where I want to ask why the mayor of my city, where I live, Lisa Helps, is continuing to front for this plan, which it seems yet again, and maybe I'm wrong in saying this, but yet again we seem to be moving towards spending over $1 billion now for a secondary treatment system that I think we can say does just about zero environmental benefit. So why are we being pushed to spend $1 billion on something that may do us no environmental good? And Walter, you've got and we both brought a story that was in Focus magazine that kind of says the current system is not doing a bad job, and we'd have to go a long way to equal what is now being done.
That's right. I mean, that's the gist of it. I mean, I recommend everyone to go to the websites being shown on the screen for Focus magazine, and this article is printed. It's very well reasoned, really based on good sound science and common sense. And basically, these scientists and medical health professionals are saying, let's look at this scientifically and let's see what we really have to do. But the bottom line is basically that what we have is very low impact, and the sewage system has been designated as a high impact system by the federal government, which is incorrect. That if we were to say, okay, this is a low impact system, it can be looked at, it can always be made better, but why rush into this massively expensive and very intrusive system that may not have any benefits whatsoever in the long run and may possibly have more environmental impacts than what we have now?
Yeah, so this story this is the December Focus magazine. I'll just hold it up here for people to see. December Focus magazine. This article is written by Jay Cullen, Chris Garrett, Jack Littlepage, Rob McDonald, Tim Parsons, Tom Pedersen, and several others. Sorry for missing some, but it says most or all of them are all current, former, or adjunct professors of marine science. One of them at UBC, all the rest at UVic. So these are the marine scientists, and what they're saying is the marine impacts of the present system are small enough that land-based treatment, in other words, that land-based sewage treatment, is a low priority for marine environmental protection in Victoria. So, I mean, maybe they're wrong. That's possible. But shouldn't we know the facts before we are pushed into spending $1 billion? And this was in Focus magazine, but it hasn't been, I haven't heard it on CFAX. I mean, shouldn't this be front page news? Shouldn't this be leading the news on CFAX, CBC Radio, the Times columnist, that, hey, maybe this is all a mistake? But no, the story is, the decision is about to be made, and we can do a useless system for a little over $1 billion, so they're going to make us do it.
You know, and the people that have been working on this, the citizens that have devoted so much time to this, and you've had them on the show so many times, making so much sense. But where are we at, Jack? We were 7 years into this planning, and basically we haven't established that we need a new sewage treatment system in any scientific terms. We have not established that. That's number one. You know, the very first thing you do.
And people have asked from the beginning to the CRD, please give us a cost-benefit analysis. Tell us what the benefits are, and they won't do it.
That's part of that analysis. You know, you'd have to look at what is going into the ocean, what it looks like. and what sort of impacts they're having, and then decide, well, how can we improve it? And then we have all these professors of marine science, and we have biologists and health authorities saying that what we have isn't that bad, and it works pretty good. But nevertheless, the CRD and the directors of the CRD, and we should actually get their names on the show and read them out, but they've spent $60 million planning to build a sewage treatment plant. So it just doesn't fit, Jack. There's a huge disconnect. And obviously there's a problem with governance in this region. The CRD is basically out of control. And I mean, we've gone over this so many times, but I think they may dig themselves into a big enough hole this time. I hope they do, because I don't think they're going to be able to pull it off.
Well, they're not digging themselves into a hole, they're digging us into a hole.
Digging the hole, then dumping taxpayers' money into it. But
so, I mean, this is something we've just got to keep an eye on. The sewage treatment issue is a disaster if, I think, and again, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I think if this plan goes ahead, it's a disaster. Homeless roaming the streets is big in the news. So, I mean, to me, the homeless situation has been deliberately caused by the people who run our country with the full support of all the media, CFAX, the Times Columnist, I mean, here locally, but of course across the country, CTV National News, CBC National News, the big newspapers, the Globe and Mail. For decades, they have worked towards creating this homeless disaster that we have. And they tell us we just can't solve it. And at the same moment, and today I heard that they're removing, they'll no longer be able to get a transfer when you get on the bus, right? Because we're so short of money that they've got to somehow make transit pay more. So you get on the bus, no more transit, plus senior fares are going up, plus kids' fares are going up. And the Royal Bank just made a record profit. A record profit for any corporation ever in Canadian history was just made by the Royal Bank. Was that big in the news? Was that front page anywhere? Hey, we can't house our own fellow citizens, but the Royal Bank just made a record profit? Not a word. So again, I just want to say what we can do with $1 billion. The Royal Bank, one bank, made over $10 billion in this past year. We could build 3,000 units of good housing. We could give 20,000 poor families $5,000 each. This is with $1 billion. We could also give 20,000 students with student loans $5,000 each, pay them down. We could pay for 20,000 operations across the country at a cost of $10,000 each. And we could open schools right across Canada at night and on weekends for community sports and clubs and meetings and places for families to go. So we could open schools at night and on weekends and create community, as well as all these other things for $1 billion. But instead it all goes to the Royal Bank. I mean, that's our country. That's what our country has become, and we've got to take it back.
Well, the rich are getting richer, aren't they? You know, I read something the other day where they were complaining about how much this climate change conference in Paris is costing. It's like 200 people there from Canada. It's costing around $650,000 to send them there and participate for a couple of weeks. But I also noticed that the petroleum industry over the last 10 years has gotten $450 billion in subsidies from the Canadian government.
Say that again, 20
$450
years?
billion over the last 10 years. So you wonder where's the money going to come from, you know, and the obscene profits that these guys are all making and the amount of subsidies they're getting. There's something out of balance here. And I hope the Trudeau government tries to set that straighter. I think there's going to be a lot of resistance, but when you look at these things and you say the bank profits, something's terribly wrong. We have to get more control over our financial systems, and we have to have democratic control and not just let these banks and the elites dictate what's going to happen.
So you mentioned I don't know, should I call him Prime Minister Trudeau or Justin? I don't know what to say. Can I call him Justin?
I think you can. Why not?
So everybody who's watching this show, should email the Liberal Party or something, or Justin himself, and say, Justin, please, every 2 or 3 days, make a 5-minute or 3 or 4 or 5-minute video, put it up on YouTube, talk to us. Yeah. Tell us what you're doing. Tell us what's happening, because all we get is through the media, the lies of the media. So it's a real opportunity. I mean, if it was up, everybody could access it. You know, the whole country. He can speak to us.
Yeah.
So do that. We're in the midst of another terror crisis. Paris, you know, was Paris a false flag attack? Who knows? But it's got to be considered. And you got some information about the more recent attack in San Bernardino, California.
Yeah, that's correct. And if you go to global research, and that's going to be shown on the screen, something was just put up today, an analysis of what happened. And these things are always very interesting. These are the facts. This is the facts of the case. This is what people are saying. These are the events that did really occur. These are officially confirmed. It's not like rumor or anything. This is as good as you can get for establishing facts. And of course, they're accusing this guy and his wife. They're supposed to have kind of gone berserk with some guns and gone in and shot up these people in this facility. But the eyewitnesses that were there did not see 2 people. They saw 3.
Now, is that eyewitnesses or eyewitness?
Yeah, well, the one that testified, the one woman that testified said that she saw, in this testimony here that I have here, that she saw 3 shooters, 3 tall, athletic men in black military, sort of the SWAT team look, and that they did not see any woman. But by the way, the woman that's accused is 5 feet tall. She weighs 90 pounds.
Really? I didn't know that.
Now, the FBI, there's also a videotape of, they've been interviewing the lawyers for the family, and the lawyers are saying this doesn't add up. They saw a picture of the accused who were killed by the police later, handcuffed in the back of a police van, dead. And why would you handcuff dead people? Is the question. You know, there's a number of inconsistencies here, major inconsistencies to the official story that certainly raises a lot of red flags.
And these inconsistencies go to every one of these terror incidents that takes place, going right back to 9/11. I mean, the official story of 9/11 is a complete impossibility. You know, the buildings, 1,500 architects and engineers say the buildings were brought down by explosives in a controlled demolition. And yet it doesn't matter. The media refuses to report on it. The politicians pretend that none of this exists. And you go from there through everything else, the lies about the weapons of mass destruction, every part of it. And we come now to this latest incident. You can't, I mean, I don't see how anybody can believe it anymore.
Yeah.
Not to say that it isn't true, but so much of everything is a lie constantly that how can we possibly believe the next official story?
You know, I've always thought about this, and and I always thought, well, if it is some type of operation, they want to scare the public into hating Muslims. If they have an agenda of one sort or another. Well, that in a sense is more frightening than if it was just a straight up sort of terrorist event. You know, some people were planning to do some harm and they managed to get some guns and they went to a facility and shot it up and shot a bunch of people. That's terrible and frightening. But what's even more frightening is the thought that there's elements within the police authorities and within the Secret Service that would run an operation. People on government payrolls would run the operation and aid and abet the crime. That is even more terrifying for us. And now,
but here's even more terrifying, which is that the media has to also be a part of it. Because you've got to be assured from the beginning that no questions will ever be asked.
But think how unsettling those ideas are. And I think a lot of people can't go there, Jack. That's so terrifying. You think that, you know, the people that are supposed to be protecting us are running these operations. And there's a very real possibility of that, only based upon the facts. I mean, You don't have to be, looking and scraping every last detail to try to find some plot or something. This is just straight ahead. This is like, terrorism, fake terrorism 101. They have the same components time and time again. Oh, by the way, the landlords of the people that were supposed to have done this attack, the FBI went in and found the weapons, of course. Oh, by the way, the weapons they found were police-issued firearms. That's according to the official report. The alcohol, tobacco, firearms, guys, whatever you call them, recovered police-issued firearms. Now, but the thing is that why would they allow, right afterwards, the owner of the house to open up the doors and let journalists in to rifle through all their belongings? It's not only a violation of their fundamental rights. At this point, they're just accused of a crime. But, if you were thinking about it a bit, for sure they've corrupted that scene. No other evidence could ever be gleaned from that ever again. If it was an inside job and they had some guys to go in there and plant this stuff, that could be found out by other authorities. There's lots of ways to investigate, a faked scene, but that can never happen now. And by the way, that's exactly what happened here in Canada when the poor couple from Vancouver that were accused of trying to bomb the legislature. After the police had been there, the landlord allowed everybody in to rifle through their belongings. It was really disgusting in so many levels, but also it destroyed that scene that could never be investigated any further. And, if you're thinking in a common sense way, this tells you that something's not right here, that nobody's being charged for allowing journalists in to bust into these what should be protected areas until they're very, very well investigated.
You just can't accept the official story.
Yeah.
We don't know, I certainly don't know what the facts are, but I know I've been lied to my whole life by the people who run this country and their politicians and their media. So I've stopped believing them. And it's a very scary time because behind all of this things that somebody is doing, they're deliberately, you watch CTV, you watch CBC, you listen to CFAX here in the city, they're creating fear. And they've now, they've got Bill C-51, which hasn't been mentioned since the election. No, look at the amount of coverage that our media has given the issue of ISIS and Syrian refugees. While behind that, there's not one word about the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, this new deal, which is a corporate takeover of our country and many others. It reduces our power. It reduces any we have so little democracy left, but even that gets attacked in this agreement. And yet since the election, there literally has not been one word about it in our media, while they fill us with fear.
Yeah. We should thank Murray Rankin for that. He did some excellent work in helping to enforce. Was it NAFTA or the TPP that he helped enforce?
I think he worked on a case that was involved with NAFTA. It goes back a number of years.
Yeah, but here we have our elected people that we elected as our representatives on their spare time working with the other guys.
I've heard some rumors that the story we're getting about Alberta and Canada and at the climate change conference aren't exactly true.
Yeah.
We're not the great guys, and what we keep hearing is the tar sands are going to have to cut down, and or not, who knows? But that's the story, and they're going to capture carbon. But like the number of cars in this city, just this little city, is immense. Everybody's driving everywhere. And if that doesn't change, then we're all doomed. And that goes for every town and city right across this country and right across the world. We've got to reduce our use of the automobile. If we can't do that, we're dead. And maybe even if we do, we're dead. And nobody's even mentioning that.
Yeah, you know, and Canada also announced that their goals is to reduce the global warming by 1.5%, not 2%. That's a huge announcement. Very, very, very important. It dramatically changes what the goalposts look like and what they have to achieve.
So Canada's saying we can only raise 1.5 degrees.
1.5 instead of 2. It sounds like a small amount, but actually it's huge when it comes to implementation. They have to be much more active and make much more radical changes in order to get to those sort of goals. And I don't know, has it been covered in the media? It must have been, but it's a huge announcement. But I just don't seem to see it much being covered anywhere.
And when are we going to start doing it? Like the number of cars in Victoria keeps going up. I mean, that's predominant. I mean, we're in for big changes if something happens. This is there's a CBC. Maybe you can read the headline.
First question period. Trudeau accused of stepping back from fight against ISIS.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, the whole story of what we've been told about ISIS is so one-sided, so blatantly false, so blatantly different from the truth, I think, that the new Conservative leader can make a comment like this, Trudeau accused of stepping back from fight against ISIS, when, as far as we know, the United States and Saudi Arabia and Turkey and other countries are supporting ISIS. So we don't know the truth, and yet we've been told so many lies that this kind of thing can pose as news and fact, and it works because we all get fed misinformation.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this with Stephen Harper's personal bodyguard, the CSIS agent who became the ambassador to Jordan, Canada's ambassador to Jordan, and who immediately through that embassy, they start running a human smuggling ring through Turkey into Syria, and they were smuggling people in, including these British schoolgirls that were...
So just say that again, because I agree with it. You're saying that Stephen Harper was involved.
Yeah, directly involved. He appointed his bodyguard, who was a CSIS agent.
To be?
He made him the Canada's ambassador to Jordan.
And then this guy was paying somebody who was smuggling people from Turkey across the border, Europeans, Westerners, across the border from Turkey into Syria. Okay, and this is what Rona Ambrose says. We've been told so many lies. Now, I believe and you believe that that was the truth. And this is what Rona Ambrose says. This is in a Canadian Press article. Interim Conservative leader Rona Ambrose said the extremists who have overrun vast swaths of Syria are part of a death cult that sells women and children into sexual slavery and murders religious minorities. Well, the former leader of your party seems to have some connection to it. And yet, the truth is never allowed to be said.
I mean, this is a story, and when I saw it, I just about jumped out of my chair. You know, this was reported in the Manchester Guardian, and the Ottawa Citizen, and the Toronto Star. This is all in mainstream media. You can go and Google this. I mean, it sounds too fantastic to believe, but it was up for 2 days.
And Walter, we're out of time. We'll leave it at that, but we're living in crazy times. Thanks for watching this segment of Citizens Forum.